So, it wouldn't be an episode of this podcast if we didn't talk about the weather first before we got rolling, right?
I don't know. I think we had a pretty good streak without it, but it is certainly fall in Kentucky, which means we went from 85 to 40. So we just
Pretty
skipped
much.
right over.
I was sweating at the beginning of rehearsal tonight teaching, and then I was shivering by the end of it. So, good old Kentucky Midwest weather. But, oh well. Fall's here. Hope everyone's been doing all right. As you can see on the screen now or from the video title, we're joined by Lee Beddis today. We're going to be watching some Cadets 2023. We have an awesome video from, from Vic Firth. So thank you. Go subscribe to Vic Firth's Marching or any Vic Firth related YouTube channel. Support them. Video or link is in the video description. So Lee, how you been? I think it's been since January of this year. It was January but we had you on in January, right? Before the summer started.
Yep. Just after New Year's. That's right. Things have been well, man. Thanks.
Cool.
You kind of got announced with the new team. First year back at the Cadets. Obviously, you've spent many years around the organization. But how did the summer kind of lay out? As expected? Better than expected? Like, how'd you feel?
Yeah, I mean, I had a blast this summer. Just an absolute blast. It was exactly like you said, kind of coming home. It felt home to me. A lot of things that we did with the drumline were just kind of natural and were, kind of everything just fit in like a glove for my first year there. I had a great staff that we all kind of fit into the cadet way of doing things, and I just had a complete blast all the way through. I keep on saying that, but that's exactly what it was. It was a whirlwind of excitement.
I remember talking about it. It was a lot of retention of the existing staff, plus like an influx of kind of new blood with just some other flavors that they bring to the table, I'll say, for a pretty delicious recipe at the end of the year. A lot of, I feel like, evolution for the ensemble with the tradition as well. It really felt like a cadet drumline, but also kind of mixing in that little sprinkles of new age and modern drumming. Did you feel like that was kind of the approach you were going for, or it just kind of happened organically?
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, I marched at the Cadets, and it's in my DNA, everything that I write. I'm a reflection of reflection of my environment, if you will, with Tom Unkston, Tom Hannum. That's in me. When I write a chart, they're in my head, if you will, as I'm writing a chart. But also keeping up with the hybrids and all the new stuff. I mean, I judge WGI, and I'm in the hot seat, if you will, every year, and I can hear the great drum lines and all the great vocabulary and new vocab that's out now. Really try to stay up on that. So I think, with that kind of tradition plus innovation, if you will, and trying to keep up with the today's vocab, it was all that's kind of how it all kind of fit in, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's kind of, and then obviously this year I had an approach too, where, I would write the first draft. I'd send it through to Travis. He would write a couple little things in there, like, hey, why don't we try this, try that? And then he'd throw it over to James, and then he would do some stuff, and then Jake would do some stuff. So we had a little collaboration going on, where it kind of ended up being, this collaboration of the four of us, if you will.
Well, you can definitely tell it was, how do I want to say this? It definitely had the right mix of Cadets style of momentum, and you can tell other people from this generation or the one before it also had their fingerprints on it too. Really, you had some backsticking stuff, some add-ins, some more funky rhythmic stuff going on in there, syncopation, along with that momentum and aggression that we know and love about the Cadets traditionally. And I think so. It's really cool to hear that you guys, that really, it was a team effort to put that package together.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I guess I start with the vision of what we want to do, and then the guys just pick up on that, and it's like anything, it evolves, right? Like, right. I have, like the beginning of the show was I had this idea, why don't we try an add-on? We can talk through it as we get through the video, but it's like, here's kind of what I was thinking, and here's how kind of what it evolved to, and then, you know what I mean? So it was really, again, it was a blast. I had an absolute blast.
I mean, you
one,
could go ahead, Evan.
Mike.
No, you're good.
I was gonna say that's one phrase that I love to use, the word evolve. And I think I also heard that from Tim Fairbanks. He's like, I don't like to call them changes. I don't want to tell the students or the members like, oh, we're changing this, we're changing this. We're just evolving things. Things are gonna evolve over the you put it out there, you see it, and you're like, all right, we're gonna make this better. Not necessarily like change it, saying that it's wrong, but we can evolve it into something that's from this into this higher level of just idea. So
before we keep going, because I forgot and we were just excited to get rolling with this, welcome everyone to the Aged Out Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Mike Fantini, and with me as always is
Evan Worrell.
Make sure you comment, subscribe on the video. Share the video with anyone you think would appreciate it. Go to Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok. Never miss an update on anything. Patreon.com or hit join right here on YouTube if you want to support us financially. All putting out judges tapes. We've got some practice videos in the works. We're sitting down with anyone and everyone we possibly can. So the viewership is appreciated. But if you want to support us more than that, we appreciate that as well. All right. I realized I forgot that like a minute ago.
Practice,
do what?
We're out of practice.
Yeah, right.
I should have done the intro for you guys.
Here, when we're done here, we'll get you to record an intro, and I'll have like a 30-second bit that I can use at the beginning of every episode and just insert it, and we'll have Lee just do the intro every time from here on out.
It's like the ad you see like before the ESPN videos with like Kirk Herbstreit or something like that, or at the end. It's like sponsored by Lee Beddis.
That's funny.
Oh my gosh. But well, I mean, send us some Maple Leaf jerseys.
There you
go. All right. Well, do you all want to jump into this video?
Yeah, I'm sure as we go, I'll start to call out other things just like from the season in the summer, and we can vibe off of that.
All right. Let me switch a screen here. All right. You guys can both see the video.
Yep.
All right. Again, subscribe to Vic Firth.
Brian
video link
Stockard
in the description.
Team, shout out.
Atlas is caught between two.
Oh, and this will be cool because it's like an on-field multicam full run with the whole core on finals day, so it's super cool video.
Different tellings of his story. In the first, he leads a rebellion against Olympus and is then sentenced to hold the heavens on his shoulders for eternity. In the second story,
a great setup.
He is chosen to be the guardian.
Really kind of felt like you had a movie and no prologue at the beginning. Give you that sense.
In a galaxy far, far away.
Right. And then really, I love this because I started off with a solo. Like, what would Atlas? You start off as a solo, a strong soloist, and then add on, keep on getting stronger and stronger. That was the idea. Get faster, stronger. Yeah. Start open with fivelets into the ninelets into the really strong triplet rolls, and then trade it off to the tenors. That was basically the idea there.
Yeah, I love hearing those little design thoughts behind the whole process from the arranger about how you're talking about the Atlas theme, and it all builds and gets stronger and stronger. Like, I would have never put two and two together just watching that, but it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, that was my motivation. I did want to start with one soloist though, to show like I am Atlas, or the soloist is Atlas to start off with. That was the idea, and we had this idea with the sphere that you see there of him coming out to start the show, kind of thing. Like set the stage. So, yeah.
All right, we'll let that add-on play again and let it flow into the quads right after this time.
That one rhythm at the end too. It's fast. It's close. Tiny space.
Well, that was my motif.
Yep. Lee, I just picture you playing that backstick.
Yeah.
Just smooth.
Final build with the bass drum layering.
Now this...
The sound effect is so cool.
Yeah, so this part, you want to stop it here for a second. So
Yep.
I wrote that as a tribute to Tom Float, actually, as a little Excel D-cell thing, because in the 80s, that was the first thing I heard Tom write, was the kind of Excel singles that he did in like the early 80s. So when I was actually writing this is when he passed away, and I kind of did a little, nobody really ever knew that, but that was my little tribute to him to kind of throw in the show there. And then actually Monty added, our pit arranger added the whole sound effects in behind it, make it sound like this whole pitch bend idea to bring in the brass, and it ended up being even better.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so,
It's very effective.
I love that. Shout out to one of the GOATs,
absolutely.
the late Tom Float, just iconic.
Yep. All right, let's get that phrase one more time.
Also, just hard to do to have everyone feel time and space.
Right into the flam vocabulary, into the hand-to-hands after it, too.
Build right into the pinching the face brass.
It's where the velocity comes in.
Yep.
Open up the space there. Kind of a motif, open it up there a little bit. The velocity comes on 15 runs there. Again, with
Back
the
into the
motif.
chugga.
That's right. The
Yep.
motif at the end. Yeah, I use that quite a bit throughout the show. More for that, just a little something you can hang on to.
Just
you know,
catch
as
it
a
every
marker.
time and it pops back out, yeah.
Yeah.
I still
Kinda tie things full
appreciate,
circle.
yeah, I still appreciate immensely that even in this new age of drum corps that we live in now, the cadets still have their run and gun moments from a visual standpoint. A lot of corps have now, everybody's marching, everybody's playing, but like, I feel like the drill has kind of lost some of that sustained velocity to it that was a staple in like 05, 03, late 90s, like that whole era of the activity. And it's kind of like taking the foot off the gas pedal in a lot of places, but the cadets have still, and a few other corps as well too, but really it stands out with the cadets drill every year. Just seeing the battery just still have moments of hauling around the field. It's just so intense. It's so cool.
East Coast.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things too is, as you see in the new modern era of drum corps, if you will, everybody's bringing the drum line up to the front, doing their feature, then they come back at the back and they do some things in behind.
You have to.
Here is, I wanted to be cognizant of the fact that I wanted to bring up the drum line and do our moments, but I also wanted to keep on in the DNA when we are hauling in behind.
Mm-hmm.
I still wanted to be playing a lot. I wanted to be playing
Right.
even if there was a judge out there, I just wanted to keep that energy going and, keep that vocab, if you will, all the way through the show, if that makes sense.
No,
Absolutely.
it definitely does.
I think that too, that mindset feeds into the velocity and the momentum of the brass too. Like even, the drums are back there, maybe they're not accessible by the judge, but that vibe and that kind of intensity translates all the way to the box.
Well, Jay Bocook's brass arrangements are, and sometimes he handcuffs me because he's doing all these mellophone runs or he's doing baritone things. Like it's very rhythmic throughout there.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, it gives me the direction and drive that I can just feed off of that and add to it and not, I guess the skill is not getting in the way of that, but actually making that clear as well as adding your own layer and keeping it going, if that makes sense. So
Right.
Yeah, I mean, just because like obviously if he's writing like duple patterns in the brass 16th, 8th notes, like can't overlay just a ton of triplets on it or just it's not gonna work. But
well, yeah, no, and honestly, I take his lead on everything. Like it's a blank piece of paper, but then he gives me his stuff, and we're talking and coordinating through a piece. I'll come back to him and say, hey, why don't we try this? Or he'll do the same thing with me, right? So we're kind of going back and forth just to make sure it's going to be a very clear product.
nice. Yeah, absolutely.
Very cool.
Let's get in.
That's funny. I haven't seen this video. It's pretty good.
Getting a true first reaction.
Yeah. a nice job here.
Virtuosity
Very-
in front.
Nice hand speed changes on the boards.
Yeah, a lot of good permutations there and good quality of sound all the way up to the upper end of the board there. This is a brass moment of which we added in, tambourines and some orchestral moments here for the front ensemble.
Accents.
Concert snare. We had 3 concert snares we traded off on through there. Again, trying to give us a little more variety as you're watching us. Now and remember this too, the battery comes in to the far right side too, while the brass was still playing. But from an ensemble standpoint, it was incredibly hard to put together.
Yep.
Jump, jump. Classic cadet. Jump, 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 jump,
Those low isolated right hand doubles are tough.
The whole battery was exceptional, but the quads for sure.
Yeah.
One be responsible for all this.
I love those pick tips.
Here's the moment.
We are immortal.
Just the added difficulty of like that ripple
You
in
didn't
the
write-
body too. Just
Pause.
so tough.
You didn't write that many. You didn't write a touch moment like that for us in any of our books with the finesse.
Well, I tried to.
Our pick tip moment was like, let's see how fast we can play
with these pick tip sticks.
Well, the funny thing about that part in 09, I think you're referring to. That,
It is.
That was supposed to be slower. We ended up doing like 12 clicks faster, and so it ended up being what it was. But I guess that part of the show was really to kind of, I wanted to explore mezzo forte and below, and then not necessarily losing the speed of hand speed through there. I wanted to maintain that, but also really explore the low end of the dynamics there. And you can see that. And the piccolo tips obviously really work for that section too. And you can see near the end, it was kind of using some rim, doing some different things there, stick click things, and just end with that snare roll was the idea.
Variety
that was,
of timbre.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the idea there, and really be clear through it. Very, very clear.
Just
I can tell you the beginning of that feature took forever to clean. It was so difficult because it was all in duple. So at 184, I think it was, and that was all some pretty hard flam stuff and some like, like all these little fast little things in there that took forever to clean. So it's kind of interesting when you watch them here at the end now playing through this. It looks like it's nothing.
effortless.
Hey, yeah, exactly.
But there's so much nuance to it, though, that the casual viewer is not going to pick up at all, and all the work that went into it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those
Funny.
those platted drags are challenging the dichotomy and the pressure in each hand.
There's many times we were going to do we water that? What do we do with that? You're stretching time through here. All the different rubatos in there. Open octaves, the marimbas through here. And the counter line that Monty has going on with the vibes too throughout this. Without getting in the way of the brass. I mean, that was the big thing here, is we wanted to make sure we were secondary support and not just a marimba moment,
Right. Makes sense. Concerts.
Which is tough to do. I can tell you too, it's tough to do now in this age where the percussion judge, is right in the front watching the pit for 70% of the show. You gotta, there's some, when you do decide to just do some, cymbal crashes, it kind of adds to, variety, and you always question, like, is this enough? Or you're always constantly, asking yourself
Trying to
that.
find that balance.
Are they going to appreciate the
nuance here?
Intentional tacit at times, or
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's to be brave to be intentionally tacit is the idea. All right. Now we get into the electronic era.
Did Travis have a hand in this phrase?
Actually, I wrote this whole phrase out. Most of this is mine.
Okay.
The very beginning, he did a couple little touch things where he's doing backsticking.
That's why I asked the question too. I'll back up to the beginning of the phrase. I saw the backsticking stuff and kind of like the 16th note feel. I was like, did Travis have a hand in this?
Yeah, he did at the very beginning of it.
Right. Yeah, we didn't play too many back sticks. I remember in 09, Brian Byer, we had that 5-lit thing at the beginning of the show, and he came up with us, and you looked at us all and you were like, we were also like running our balls off, so it's like we were like dropping sticks. There's like a stick graveyard on the field. We're like, yeah, it's not hard.
It's like our drill is too hard to be doing all these tricky things.
If you think it will be easy, you will be disappointed.
Yeah, that little high mom. I didn't even know what a high mom was before this year.
Amazing.
I didn't know what it was called. Like, I didn't know that, oh, that's a high mom? Oh, that's cool, man. All right.
Well, you're never done learning.
No.
And the decrescendo to the hand.
Yes.
I talked over the part of that bass phrase. We're going back a little more. It's too good not to hear.
A refreshing end of the phrase.
Very good decrescendo.
Yeah, I wanted to do something a little bit different with the bass feature there, as opposed to just wham, and I wanted to actually make it a little bit more musical, if you will. Phrasing.
Oh, nice feel change.
Dang.
Right into the keyboard runs.
Yeah, trading time all over the place.
Oh, yeah. Just flam work in the back stick.
Dude, hold on, go back. So at the end of that phrase, James turns around, looks at the box, goes, ooh, and then starts clapping.
I'm gonna move so everybody can see this. I'm gonna move Lee's head up to the corner here in the screen so we can see James here front and center. I didn't notice that. All right, here we go.
Dude, that was an awesome reaction. He's like, that was good.
Also, the smorgasbord of rudimental vocabulary in this snare phrase is just pleasing to the soul. Just to say that too. And it was a hell of a rep.
Gives a stank face. Oh. All
right, here we go.
Golf clap.
Amazing.
Oh, they just played their butts off, man.
Right?
Oof. In all the little brass hit pockets. Check him.
That's some drum corps right there.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun because, at the beginning of that, I was like, hey, James, you take the tenor feature. You write the tenor feature. Travis, you take the snare feature. What do you got here? I'm kind of thinking this. And they came back with those things, and we meddled around with it, and that's kind of what it ended up being. So that's, again, a great example of the collaboration there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it flows pretty seamlessly through. Like, there have been instances of books before where, like, there's multiple prolific arrangers involved in an ensemble, and, like, you can kind of tell when someone takes over. One that sticks out to me for sure is when Brent Montgomery and Tom Monks were both at Blue Stars. Like, I was
2009,
like,
I think
that's a
it
Tom
was.
Monks moment.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can kind of just tell when the shift happens, but this one, they all seem to happen pretty seamlessly.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, that was, again, and you make a great point. When you do collaborate, you got to make sure it's all sounding like the same writer throughout the whole thing. It has the same characteristics.
Right.
I wanted to make sure that it did do that, and it actually just it did on its own, kind of naturally,
I mean, that happens, I think, throughout when you like have those nuggets from one person to the other. Like, what do you think about this? And like they maybe put their flavor of like sticking on something you wrote. It's like, oh, I like that rhythm, but we could also do it this way, and it just kind of over time just molds into this cohesive thing. So.
Yeah, I think, a lot of people have asked me that, like, they're impressed on how I've asked, or I let other people write the book or what have you. Because it used to be my way, and write it this way and do it this way. And I'm thinking, like, well, I have guys around who have been doing this for a long time. James and Travis and Jake, these guys have been doing this for 15 years or long, like they've been doing indoor. They write indoor. They do, it's like, why would I not include them in the process in doing this,
Sure.
Yeah.
So I think it's just you're better overall than just me doing it, so.
And you can feed and inspire each other. Like, somebody might think they have a better idea for one part, one phrase, but even if their idea is not right, it might give the original person that did that phrase a different idea. And then maybe they meet in the middle somewhere, and it just kind of feeds itself and grows.
Yeah. And I think like you and a lot of the other Rangers today are more in tune, I'll say, with like, I like it this way. It makes sense to me this way, but like kind of with the innovation and the way kids play now, like this is what's going to project or translate the best. Like this feels good in their hands, or like this is what they can do. Like,
sure.
I learned how to drum I learned how to drum a certain way, but like the kids that I teach drum a little bit different, and they learn different things, or they're introduced to different things. So it's like, well, let's try it this way, as long as it fits within the structure. So I think that today's Rangers are really, really in tune with like that kind of pedagogy.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah.
It's too much to bear alone.
Was this part added? All this drum set stuff?
Oh yeah. Yeah, we wanted to. It was basically it was a pit and color guard moment, and so we had to portray what we were doing from an emotion standpoint, and a build up into this, moment of the show where Atlas is, becoming one of the color guard now, kind of idea. So he was a monster drum set, and I just talked through that, and I appreciate it.
We'll go back.
I'll back up here.
Yeah, we had to put that in mid-season, kind of. It's, as you go through a summer, we had to change some visual, had to change a bunch of drill, and then kind of made up with this, and it ended up being a nice moment for the front ensemble.
For sure. Definitely helps offset like that intentional tacit. I won't talk this way.
So yeah, guitar and drum set, it's all the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It definitely helps get the point across when you can like ram and do hard things, but then obviously intentionally be open and controlled.
Yep. Again, showing off a bunch of different techniques here, ensemble. Coming in cold through with the brass.
The juxtaposition of space with like bursts of speed.
Yep. Again, didn't want to do something lyrical here and there. This is supposed to sound kind of angst, Here's my motif again that I did actually in part one. Same kind of part, open up.
James with a grin on his face again, walking away. Well, at least we know he had a good time this summer.
Those are some wide intervals.
Good isolated rolls.
Tasty. Shout out Josiah, basement.
There you go.
To get it in there.
I was waiting for it the whole video.
Classic, just kind of like.
Yeah, it's reminded me.
Just some moving and playing drum corps.
Yeah.
It's almost like angelic like vibe. Boom, here we go.
Now we run.
Plus tap fives.
Running.
They didn't stop playing here for like the last 45 seconds.
They haven't stopped moving and playing, you're right, for the last minute. I like those singles in there at the end, in the last measure, too.
Someone once described to
There
me.
you go.
Uh,
James with a grin on his face.
Great.
Perfect freeze frame. And he's jumping up and down. All right.
Someone once described to me like cadets closers as being like the final round of a boxing match. Like the bell goes off and you just come out of your corner like, all right, we have to throw some haymakers. Like here we go. And I always thought that was just like a pretty apt analogy. There's some pretty famous closers in cadets history, and I think this one lived up to that tradition.
Yeah, what difficult part here was just getting them to do it all. You know, there's so much energy that creates, or you have to create while you're doing that, and so many reps, and you know, just the endurance of doing that, and playing so many notes at the same time, and playing together, and doing the right heights, and running, and looking at your spacing, and there's a lot of hard stuff right in there. But it took us all year to really get the endurance to do that at the end, you know.
So that was the first question I was going to ask now that we finished the show here. Well, first I'll start by saying, I don't know if Evan said this at the beginning, I don't remember, but I think he would back me up on this statement. We felt like you all had one of the better batteries for sure of the whole summer. And obviously your front in this video also displayed a bunch of different skill sets, a bunch of wide range of abilities and dynamic range and all that stuff. And was this a summer that you all went into knowing you were going to be really good by the end, or was it one where you said, we might get there? Did they surprise you as a group? Like, what did you expect going in, I guess, based on how it finished? Exceed expectations? Because I mean, I only ask this because everybody's been in the game for a long time. You have a gauge of your talent. You have a gauge of your experience. You know what the core is looking like going into the summer too. And everybody knows, and everybody thinks about those kind of things when they go into a season. So, I mean, was it just good from the end of spring training? Did it take the whole season to really get it from point A to point B? Because you obviously ended in a super high successful place at the end of the season. So,
I think it's probably fair to say that the first camp, I want to say the January camp, or maybe it was the December camp. We got through the opener, what you saw, the add-on and all that. We started playing through that, and we got to the gym to play it for the first time with the core, with the brass. And all of a sudden it was like, wow, I think we could actually be pretty good here. Like
Okay.
it was the first time we kind of looked at each other and went, well, this could be interesting.
Right.
This this is, I think we got something here. And honestly, we never really talked about competition or never really talked about other years of the cadets or anything. It was more or less what we're doing at this time, what we need to do to get better for tomorrow. It was
Right.
really kind of putting that, I know people say it, but putting the hard hat on and going, okay, what do we need to do to get to, better for tomorrow? And everything was like from the first 2 or 3 camps. And then we took a break between January and April and really kept the momentum going through that. And then April camps, had a couple little setbacks where we didn't know this, or maybe the pit didn't have that, or a couple things from a musical standpoint. But then when we got to move-ins, we start getting the drill and we start learning through that. The momentum starts to get more and more that you can't stop. I think
Right.
I would have to say the battery came out certainly strong at the beginning of the summer and only got better and stronger. The pit really went from being like a 70% to a 95% by the end of the summer. Like they really they went up over and above the trajectory
Nice.
of what the battery did over the summer. So, I think we've learned a lot from that this past year, and hopefully we're going to correct some of those things as we get into 24, just to keep that trajectory going for the entire percussion, not just one section or the other, just to make sure we're all kind of getting on that same page. But I'm very happy where it ended up. The whole idea, I think every year any of us try to do this, is my philosophy is I want to be in the mix. I want to be in the conversation, if you will. I just want to be in the conversation. Like, I don't want to be like, no, they're not worthy. No. I just want to be in the conversation.
Right.
And then I can't control what everybody else is doing and what the judges are going to think of everybody else and, whatever. I can just control to a degree what we're doing and how we can do things. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Yeah, for
definitely
sure.
does.
I mean, I think, obviously, from a competitive standpoint, the accolades of success are great. Everybody loves that. There's no denying that. I think we're all competitive people. Part of what drives us, for sure. So, seeing cadets as a core being top 5, even you guys as a percussion ensemble, after semifinals, you guys were tied for 4th with Blue Coats on the 2-night average. So 100% in the mix. I mean, I probably have the averages of like what it is actually, but cadets semi. So like you're talking a 0.5 spread from like 1st to 4th. So I mean, in the mix for sure. But I think to me, what stood out was this was a great cadets drum corps, and it felt like a very traditional. I mean, I know we saw the video, and we reacted to that mid-season of you guys doing the parade in uniform and like playing that standstill.
Yeah, that was so cool.
And I was just like, it was like so nostalgic,
That was
and I was
so
just like,
awesome.
oh my god, this is so sick. So it just had that feeling and that vibe mixed in with a modern application to it. So it was just a great drum corps show. It was a fun group to watch. Obviously, I have people there that I'm friends with, but I feel like at this point I could probably say that about any drum corps. So it was just fun. It was a good summer. It was a good show.
Yeah.
Oh, I appreciate that, man. I mean, the kids, they're not kids. These members were working their butts off all summer and going out every day. Not once did we have any issues, really. It was okay. What are we doing?
Yeah.
So
it's amazing. The summer is long, and it's overlooked a lot. I feel like how important that is to have a group of people that are all on the same page, where you don't have any like vibe issues within the membership or like attitude issues. Everyone's kind of just like you said, showing up every day. Like, all right, what are we doing? Like, we're all tired. We all know it's hot. Maybe
paid to work.
This person or that person had a bad day yesterday playing wise or 3 days ago, but like every day is a new day, and it's like nobody's dragging each other down or getting mad at each other because somebody had a bad day yesterday. So it's super important when you have that kind of of a cohesiveness within your group. It really helps take it to the next level, basically, and be in the mix consistently.
Absolutely.
I never had any bad playing days.
Yeah.
That's bullshit. I guarantee you had a
All
bad
right.
playing day. The summer's too long. You marched too many seasons. You had a bad day or two.
When we changed heads, it was always bad.
Blame it on the heads. Okay. All right.
I had a bad pair of sticks for those
Head
2 days.
change.
What
Let's
can I say?
Let's chop out some tap fives. Here we go. But that's actually a core memory. I remember exactly where I was when we did that. We were in Salem, Virginia. But anyway,
Left an impression.
kind of rolling out the red carpet here. Successful summer. You hinted on a little bit to keep the momentum going. 2024. Have you guys already started, I'm sure, meeting, designing, getting that implemented, gearing up for camp season?
Yeah, so we started designing, I want to say a month and a half ago now, I guess.
So what's the show title? I'm just kidding.
We're still working through that. So, you know, we're getting through that process. In fact, I put the Yamaha order in actually today with the drum colors and everything. So you got to put them in October the 10th. It's crazy.
They need time. They got to make a lot of drums.
That's right. Yeah, so we did that.
You guys going to get new carriers next year?
Yeah, we're supposed to get all new carriers. We'll see about that, you know.
Was that was true, wasn't it? That you all used the carriers from last summer?
They were actually 3 years old, these carriers.
What?
Yeah.
How did they
weren't-
still work after the 2 tours?
Summer's
Well,
rough.
We had a lot of spare parts. Let's put it that way.
Man.
But yeah, so we began that process. To me, it's always about, okay, design and then staff. You know, I made a couple little minor tweaks to the staff. Andrew Montero is going to be both the arranger and the caption head of the front ensemble now. I moved Travis into a supervisor role with James as the assistant supervisor for the entire percussion. And then, you know, we're filling up the summer right now, just trying to figure out, you know, I think we talked about this way back in January, is continuity is so important to make sure that we have the right message throughout. You know, when you're trading off a staff nowadays, gone are the days where you can have one snare tech for 12 weeks. It's
right.
You got to have 3 snare techs, and they got to be all talking the same language when you're kind of coming in and tag teaming.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with the tenors, basses, front ensemble, all that. Even the audio section, you know, we kind of restructured that as well to make sure that we're all on the same page, more from a communication standpoint, because audio is becoming so important. With, you know, and they're with the front ensemble all day, every day. We got to make sure that they're more cohesive with what we're doing, and so when we get to ensemble and we get to a show, everybody's more on the same page there. So just making some minor tweaks through there and just trying to make everything better. I mean, that's kind of what we try to do. You're trying to make this, you know, thing better. Then from a member standpoint, you know, we're actively recruiting right now. So, you know, anybody who's watching this and you want to have an opportunity or you'd like to have an opportunity to try out for the cadets this year, please go to our website, log on. We're doing camps in November and December. Live camps is what we're preferring. If you need to do a video, we'll do that, but we prefer to get you in live so we can actually see and you know, get an understanding of what it feels like to be in the cadets.
What was the age out situation looking like after the summer? Did you lose a lot of people from the battery / front, or just what did it look like?
No, I think we have 5 snares who could return. So 4 holes there. We have 2 tenors returning, so 3 holes there, and only 1 bass drummer aged out, so 4 there. And the front ensemble a little bit different. I think there was about 5 or 6 age outs there. So yeah, I mean, yeah, not too bad considering.
Yeah.
You know, so
seems like an average amount of turnover year over year.
Yeah. I mean, this past year we had 1 snare vet, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that was in that snare line was 1 snare vet. We had 3 tenor vets and 2 bass drum vets in the battery there.
Wow.
So I mean, everybody kind of, like I said, everybody kind of locked in and did their job. You know. It was kind of nice that way. And so we're kind of looking to do the same thing this past year. Get the right kids in there, or members, get them right in there and see where we can take this thing. And then you know, the last thing is the schedule is, trying to figure out and iron out the schedule, and then putting it together for your camps, and then your between camps, and then spring training, and I'm looking that far ahead right now of how to
Trying
keep
to
things
navigate
on track.
WGI season.
Right.
Yeah, navigate through that, and then first navigate through auditions, and then navigate through the show and the program to make sure we're keeping up with the chops and what we need to do in our hands as we get to spring training. So yeah, it's a whole process. I've been doing it for a long time.
It's funny. The summer's only 3 months, but it really is a year-round activity.
At least now it's easier to collaborate with like technology and Google Drives and like files.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah,
I
think back before the pandemic, none of us really used technology like we do now. I mean, it's like, I can't imagine now going through a winter season without it, to be honest with you. It's so incorporated into what we do. And it's so important.
The design process, like before all this must have just been wild. Like, hey, I have this song that I think's interesting. It's like, oh, what's it sound like? All right, let me hold my cassette up to the phone and let you listen to it, like, or something. Like, I mean,
hold my cassette.
Or let's all just
we're
gonna have to all get in the same room and like listen to this or something.
Yeah,
That's
what did we do
wild.
before the internet, everybody? How did people survive without it?
Oh my gosh.
We spend our time not looking at screens all day long.
Right, that's true. That's very true. Probably
valid.
All right, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole.
That's a whole different rabbit hole and tirade right there. We'll but man, it's always a pleasure hanging out. I think Evan and I want to make this a staple after the drum corps seasons, and honestly the indoor season too, with those arrangers and designers. Like, sit down with them, watch their show, talk about motivations for this, inspirations for that. Like, oh, here's a funny story that happened.
The Easter eggs
from this little thing in rehearsal one day in the middle of July in Arkansas or whatever. Like, it's so cool to hear those stories, because we know they were there and exist because we marched. And the whole idea for this project, this endeavor we're in with this channel and show, is just let everybody see behind the curtain a little bit. And I think it's good to let everybody just see it all.
Good to humanize us all a little bit.
Yeah, it definitely humanizes the whole thing, which is cool.
Well, I want to thank you guys for actually, putting the time in to ask me, first of all, inviting me through, and then to actually talk about all the great things that went on and have a platform to do that. It's awesome. So I really do appreciate it. Thank you very much.
No, thank you.
Appreciate it. And obviously too, just like give love and all the respect back to the staffs, the designers, and ultimately too at the top of the pyramid, the members who are just, still busting their ass, and it's still drum corps. So
Yep. The labor of love that it is. So all right, everybody, comment, like, subscribe, share the video. If you're on podcast services, go over to YouTube and do all that. Hit the join button. Go to patreon.com/agedoutpodcast to support us financially. We're on TikTok now, and be on the lookout for announcements about like shirts and stickers and some playing videos, things, practice videos we're working on for the channel for the future, and the judges tapes we keep putting out. So Lee, thanks again, and we'll see everybody in the next one.
Peace.